The Brown Park Podcast is brought to you by Grow Clinics. They're Australia's leading hair transplant clinics, and you can go to growclinics.com.au. Hello.
G'day, mates.
Big show today, big podcast episode.
Huge. This one's going to be intense, I think.
Yeah, this one we've been working on for a little while, and we sort of first put the call out earlier this year, and then we got a call last week going, I'm ready, boys, let's talk.
We were onto it.
And we were straight onto it. So today's guest is Mel Greig. You would know her from the infamous royal prank call about 11 years ago. And she's our guest. And she's opening up on the Brown Park Podcast today.
The Brown Park Podcast.
Mel and Mia.
Sorry about the Moodle. No.
Hello, Mia.
Noodles are always welcome on this show. She's a little cutie.
She knows it too. That's the problem.
And there's the real Dion coming out there. I think this is the first time we've actually had a Moodle co-host. Hello, you're trying to lick me. Mel Greig, how are you?
G'day.
Yeah, I'm good. I mean, do you want to know the answer to that question?
Yes,
Look, I don't know where to start. So
100%. That's why we've got you here.
Look, Mia's settled in for the afternoon.
Mia's just sitting there. Is this the first time behind a mic for a while?
It is, and can I say it does feel good.
Yeah,
I'm like, what's the saying where you get back on the horse or the bike?
Straight on back on the bike.
Yeah, I'm back on that horse, and it feels good.
I've got to say, okay, so I've known you for a while since you've been up on the Gold Coast, and you seem lighter.
Yeah,
you seem like you actually. Okay, I don't know how to put this properly, but there's always been sort of like this weight about you because of what you've obviously been through. But when I walked in the door before, I went, oh, she's changed. It looks like a new Mel or something has changed.
It's the old Mel coming back, and that's the thing. It's funny because I haven't felt like myself. I moved to the Gold Coast 3 years ago, and I did that to escape, not the spotlight, so to speak. I'm not sitting here thinking I'm Jennifer Aniston or anyone. I mean, I was trying to escape my story and what happened to me because in Sydney, people know you more, whereas the Gold Coast, they don't give a rat's ass about you.
They don't.
And it's, I wanted to become extinct. I just wanted to be a normal person here. And I ignored my story and I pushed it down. And that was not a good idea because what happened was a month ago I was diagnosed with PTSD, and that's what my problem was for 2.5 years. And I didn't realise that 10 years on you can get something like that. So I had a complete breakdown, and every time I saw you, Christo, I was, so much weight on my shoulders. I didn't feel like me. I was so lost. It's
absolutely no wonder because, of what you've been through, but what you've been through in the last decade and a bit is a trauma.
Yeah, and I've never allowed myself to be a victim. I've never really gone, oh, poor me. I've always put everyone else first, and I haven't let myself realise that I did go through a trauma. I went through absolute hell. And 10 years ago, I didn't care if I died. I went into a suicidal state. So when people were telling me that I should die, I was believing them. But now, because I'm not depressed, but I have PTSD, I'm so paranoid that someone is going to kill me, and now I don't want to die. So it's come full circle where that's where the PTSD is coming from, because I didn't deal with the amount of people that wanted me dead back then. I was getting thousands of messages for 2 years.
So let's go back to the beginning. You were involved in a prank call that went, I guess, horribly wrong.
Yeah.
Can we unpack that for a sec? What happened and talk the listeners through that may not be across your story?
So it was just a normal day at work. Prank calls, as you guys know, they've happened in radio for years and years and years.
Since Jesus was a child. Seriously, Jesus' first radio broadcast, he tried to prank someone.
And the thing is, the point of the prank call was that you'd get permission from the person to play it. Yeah. So they're in on their own joke.
And that is the rule, just because Dion's not in radio, right? The rule of these kind of pranks is that you prank the person and then you ring them back and you get a permission. And that's in a show like what Mel was doing on the Hot 30 back then. You have producers, and how many producers did you have?
Oh, we had a lot. And because we actually had, because of Kyle and Jackie O, they breached a lot of the broadcasting laws before we took over the show. So we had extra measures in place.
Yeah.
It also had to go through lawyers, producers, everything. So we recorded it, and then you go on and you record the next thing. But we made the prank call to the hospital just like 40 other people before us did that day.
Yeah.
We assumed there'd be a media centre. You've got the royal family staying there. How can they not? We didn't think for a second nurses would be answering the phone. No. The whole point was do the worst possible accent, see how quickly you can get hung up on. That's going to be our 30-second funny content piece.
And it was like when you hear it, it was a joke.
Yeah.
Like there is no way that you are the Queen.
No, and I don't even
I love you, but you're not the Queen.
I sounded like Mrs. Doubtfire. Like it wasn't. And unfortunately, and this is why we have to be careful when we joke, Jacinta was having a very bad day that day.
Yeah.
So unless you know how someone is on the other end of the phone, I didn't say I was the Queen. I just said that I wanted to speak to my granddaughter, Kate, and we got put through.
Yeah.
And then the nurse gave us confidential information. It was approved on our end to air. It aired. The hospital came out, said no one's getting in trouble.
And the thing is that it was celebrated.
Yeah, and I'm ashamed to say that I celebrated it once Prince Charles made a joke.
Look,
but why wouldn't you? You would, though.
This is the thing. There wasn't, and I was in radio at the time, there wasn't one person in the industry that wasn't like, oh, I wish I had have done that joke.
Yeah.
Because that was the highlight. That's what you aim for. You aim to create a headline. That's what radio is. Radio is you want to end up in the media. That's what they want.
Yeah, and if you don't do that, you lose your job.
Yeah.
So, but we weren't trying to be controversial and get private information.
No.
We just wanted to be funny by doing stupid accents. But unfortunately, we were given private details and the hospital became an absolute joke to everybody. Yeah. Conan O'Brien, you think of the world's biggest celebrities and TV and radio hosts, they were all doing segments on us. The amount of how viral this thing went. And so by the time Prince Charles made a joke about it and the hospital came out saying there's going to be no repercussions for anyone involved, I'm like, okay, all right, I'll celebrate this now. There's going to be nothing wrong. And then we made that call on the Tuesday, and on the Friday, unfortunately, Jacinta took her own life and blamed myself and my co-host for her death.
And that was the nurse that took the call and pushed you through.
Not the one that gave the private information. It was the lady that transferred it, and she was having a very bad day, and it was awful that she felt that was her escape because it should never be the answer. But I blamed myself for years. I went over to the inquest and apologised to her family. I did everything I could to try and redeem my soul for being involved in something like that. I just wanted to do something to help in a situation that I felt like I caused.
Yeah.
But it's so innocent at the time, though. Like, I mean, we're saying off air that I'm a notorious pranker, and as a teenager, mid-20s, I would do some really horrible pranks to people. I'd send them down to the car yard saying they can return the car and change it for a different colour. They'd go to the car yard. I mean, there were so many things that I would do.
But look at the current YouTube landscape and social media. Guys are making, there's guys on the Gold Coast that are making millions of dollars out of pranks.
So you'd never ever see anything like that going this way.
Following all that, the vitriol that was thrown your way and Michael was nothing short of incredible. Everybody that was in the industry pretty much went, of course they did the wrong thing. They absolutely did the wrong thing.
And they
that
distanced
was such
themselves from you.
Bullshit.
And we were on the front page of every newspaper around the world. People were branding me a nurse killer, a murderer.
Oh, my God.
And it was just... I'm not that kind of person. I am someone that will go out of my way to help someone. Mm-hmm. So to be called a murderer and a nurse killer and to be told, why is there balloons up on the screen? It's just
was there balloons on our screen?
Yeah, on that screen.
Well, for those playing along at home, our computer screen just had balloons. So obviously we're on the right track. Yippee.
Yeah. Sorry for interrupting, guys. I just saw that. I'm like, what kind of show is this?
Yeah, that's right.
Look, the universe wants you to be talking. There you go. Look, it's sending out little signs.
It does give me little signs, though. What we copped from everybody, we had to go into hiding for 3 months. We had bodyguards. We had someone send actual bullets with our names on it to the police. It was...
Okay, can I tell you a really funny thing, though? That when this all happened, I actually went to Fiji and Michael was there.
Was he? Because there was rumours saying that we'd gone to Fiji, and I'm like, no, I'm in hiding in my apartment with the bodyguard.
Yeah. He was in Fiji, and I've walked past him and I've said to my wife, that's Michael. He's obviously come here to get away from it. I wonder whether Mel's here as well.
Which you couldn't blame anyone. I mean,
no, and that's the thing. And everyone handles something differently, and that's the thing when it comes to mental health. Jacinta handled it a different way to what the other nurse handled the situation.
Yeah.
And for me, the overwhelming grief and guilt I felt was instant. And it's been a 10-year journey of hell, if I'm honest. People are like, oh, it just happened for one day and that's it. I'm like, no, it didn't leave the headlines for 2 years. And then all this other stuff happened with the inquest and trying to get into, no one would employ me. I had 200 people say no. And even just 3 years ago, I had a corporate job, and there was a girl that worked there that started a hate campaign against me and said, I don't want to work with a murderer. She needs to be fired.
You know what?
Clients not wanting to be associated with me, the constant judgment and shame. And then only a month ago, a Reddit feed came up that said, today I learned. And there was 22,000 messages. And so I just copped hate all over again.
And how relentless is it? Like, was it across? I mean, are you on all the socials? Was it coming at you from every angle?
Yeah, it was. And back then, it wasn't. I shut down a lot of my socials, but it was the bottom of the articles. So what happened? I was in lockdown for 3 months. What do you think I was doing?
Yeah, reading the internet.
Yeah.
Reading the articles. And then I got confused with what the reality was versus what these trolls were saying. And I remember there was one message that said, eye for an eye, I'm coming for you, and then I'm going to get your mum.
What?
And that's when I realised, hang on a minute, that's abuse. This is not a real person. Who are these people writing these things?
Yeah.
And that's when I realised what a troll was.
You're owning it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how else to put it, because I've known you for a little while. It's nice to see you actually.
I just feel I've had to run away from it. I feel people saying, no, you can't do this. No, you're not allowed to talk about it. No, we don't want anybody to know who you are. Do you know how awkward it is when you meet someone and they're like, you look familiar. Where do I know you from?
Yep.
What do I say? So now I want to own my story, because it doesn't need to define me, but I can't escape it.
Yeah.
I can't pretend it doesn't exist anymore.
Well, the thing is also that the mental cost or the mental load of what you have been through.
Any psychologist or psychiatrist will tell you the more you suppress something, it's going to come out in some way, shape or form at the most inconvenient time.
Hello, PTSD on the Gold Coast. Did not see that coming.
So on that, what did the PTSD look like for you?
So I just started, I moved here and I knew I wanted a quieter life, but I started to have withdrawals from friends and I didn't want to really connect with anyone. I felt soulless. I just didn't feel connected. But the hardest thing was how I actually went into a state of psychosis where I got really paranoid and I thought everybody was going to kill me. I'd have panic attacks walking down the street. I'd hallucinate and wake up in the middle of the night and think there was someone standing at the end of my bed and start screaming. So I got to a point where I entered psychosis and went to a mental health recovery house for 7 days.
This was only just recently.
Just recently, and no one knows that. There's your exclusive, guys. I mentally needed help. But I think it's important to share that story because it's more and more common, especially for parents. And it doesn't matter that my trauma is different from someone else's. You can still react the same way to a trauma. And that's why I want to share my story, because you don't go through hell for no reason. This story needs to be able to help people in whatever capacity that is.
Well, there's no point in going through such a trauma and then not going back and mining the gold out of it.
Yeah.
So you need to be driving yourself forward and owning the story and then see what good you can get out of it.
Yeah, because like you said, when I was suppressing it and it made me worse. It put me at my worst. I don't care if someone's going to say to me now, oh, I don't want to work with you because of that. Well, bugger off, because this is me. I'm good at what I do in certain aspects and I'm not going to let that story define me. Just because you don't know the full story, you don't know how to talk to me about it. I'm not going to take your narrative on. I'm going to use my narrative, which is the truth.
Yeah. I mean, that's so true though. Like, if they don't want to work with you, the flip side to that is you sure as hell don't want to work with them. Yeah. So, take your job and stick it up your ass. I'm moving on to the next one. Like, seriously, come on. Basically. I don't want to work with you. I mean, hang on. If you don't want to work with me, well, clearly.
Fuck off.
Yeah. And that's the thing, but that's the stuff I've been avoiding. I'm like, and it came with a sense of shame. Every time something like that would happen, it would bring on shame to me that I was a bad person, that I'd done something wrong. I took my responsibility in what happened. And, I even tried to stop that call airing in its capacity. I wanted their voices dubbed over so no one would be humiliated. There's so much more to this story that people don't actually know.
Brown.
Park.
Big thanks to our sponsor, Grow Clinics. As always, they are a bunch of legends, and you can defy genetics with Grow. Look, Grow take pride in being the leading hair transplant provider in Australia. They perform more hair transplants than any other clinic in the country, and their clinic is safe with proven solutions and are tailored to your unique needs so you can achieve the best results for the best looking hair.
Oh yeah, and look, we've spoken about it a million times on the show before, but we've both had it done, and we can both vouch for Grow Clinics and the great results that you get out of it.
Somebody didn't know that I had it done, and then the other day was talking to me about it, and I went, oh yeah, the Grow sponsors our podcast, and they're like, what do you mean? What, have you had it done? And I went, yeah, and showed them the photos, and they're like, oh, Jesus.
Yeah, those before and afters. I mean, when I talk to somebody about it and show them my before, they're like, oh my God. And they're like, I didn't even know they could do that.
They can. So go onto their website, growclinics.com.au. My test case is actually up there, so you can go and have a look at my before and afters. It's on the main page if you go and find Christo. They've got me at 45 years old. That's nice. That's a couple of years ago now. But it shows you exactly what I was to what I am now.
Look, you're a little bit older, but now you look a little bit younger, so win-win.
Thank you very much. I've had a grow up. Huh?
Oh, I like it. Hey, hashtag copyright.
Look, they've got a solution for any stage of hair loss, and if you want to change your life and the way you feel about yourself and your hairline, defy genetics with Grow. Go to growclinics.com.au.
Follow the Brown Park Podcast on socials at Brown Park Official.
You're not allowed to talk about it anyway.
Well, and there's no point. I mean, the public already decided I was the face of it.
Yeah.
By throwing other people under the bus now, what will it achieve?
You burdened most of the blame, whereas Michael seemed to go on with his career. Well, and I no disrespect to him, I don't know him.
People process
whatsoever.
things differently, though, right? So
that's right. He processed it differently, and I'm glad that he could be able to do that, because what I've had is 10 years of hell, and how many more years am I going to have of dealing with this? So that's why now I feel I'm not running from my story anymore. There's parts of this that are going to help people, so that's what I want to do.
What was the worst thing you read about yourself in that moment, or have done over the years? Because I would think that something like that would really play on the psyche.
I mean, if you read enough of something, you're going to absorb that.
And that's what happened those 3 months in lockdown. Every day, I'm going to gut you like the pig that you are. I'm going to put a noose around your neck and watch you take your last breath. I'm not going to stop until you're dead. You know, hundreds and hundreds of messages.
All these
every
innocent
day.
people that have never done anything stupid in their life.
All
like
the fucking keyboard warriors.
Yeah.
That's the problem with the internet.
And so as a part of my talk, I draw these two stick people, and I have one stick person that has tiny balls, and then I have another stick person that has gigantic balls.
Yep.
And he's the one that's online, because the one with the little balls is not going to say that stuff to your face.
No way.
No.
So trolling now doesn't get to me. It got to me with the Reddit thread because I wasn't prepared for it.
Yeah.
But I've just read, I think it actually truly gets to a point when you've read the worst things about yourself over and over again, there's actually nothing worse anyone can say to me.
No, that's it.
I've had it all. I've copped it all. But the hardest thing was my family getting attacked, my friends getting attacked. I had a stalker for 2 years that just wasn't going to stop until I killed myself. And
What were they hoping to achieve from this?
Misery loves company. Anyone that's doing that is unhappy, or they want to shift.
a lot of them are
the focus.
sociopaths, and they genuinely get off on it. They enjoy seeing other people hurt. But ironically, like you're saying, what did they want to achieve from that by attacking me and blaming me for someone's death? Does that mean if I take my life, you're responsible for my death?
Yeah, that's it.
No.
Yeah, cop that. Like, it's so true. Yeah.
How did it affect the family and friends around you? Did they all gather around you and give you a warm hug, or did people start to sort of go, oh, we should probably steer clear? Or?
Yeah, most people did not stick around.
What about family?
My mum and my mum and dad, they just didn't understand. They just felt really sad for the nurse, but also they had media camped out the front of their house for 2 weeks that they wouldn't go anywhere. And mum was really struggling, and the last 2 years of her life, she had to deal with the prank call, and I lost her to pancreatic cancer, and we had so many days wasted on having to deal with this. So that was the hardest thing, is that my family had to go through it. My sisters had to go through it. I found it when people started threatening my friends and family, I just found it better to deal with it myself. And I have done that a lot to protect people over the years. Shout out to my darling husband that went out for coffee one of the first days that we were in lockdown, snuck out. That wasn't ideal.
What do you mean? Snuck out and
Just went and
got a coffee? Oh, God.
put my life at risk, but that's okay. Hello to you. We'll get some backlash from that, I'm sure. But people
Where is he now, though? Hey?
people just didn't take it as seriously as what they should have. These were legitimate death threats.
Yeah.
The police were gravely concerned for us.
So what's changed? There was obviously a point where you went, you know what, fuck this. I'm going to own it. I'm going to move forward. When was that and how did that come about?
That was just a few days ago. I did my first guest talk since I've moved to the Gold Coast, and watching the faces of people that were resonating with the story in some capacity made me realise, hang on a minute, these people are listening, they're interested in this, and I can see them resonating. And I had an overwhelming amount of people come up to me after the talk saying, that just saved my life, or I felt suicidal a few weeks ago, or I've been through a divorce and, know how painful it is. So my story helps people, and I've avoided it because of the shame that comes with it and the consequences of people not wanting to work with me. Yeah. And I just want to put myself in a position with whatever I do moving forward that I don't give a rat's ass if you don't want to work with me. I still am me, and I know my worth.
There's trauma. Most people are suffering some type of a trauma that they're hiding and they're not talking about. So the more people that talk about trauma, and that's one thing we've learned during this podcast, is people want to hear people talking about their trauma so they can, they know that they're not in this boat on their own. There are other people suffering.
Yeah, and to remove the stigma. How many people are still embarrassed to say, I have a mental health illness? I was so proud when I said, who does have a mental health illness in this room? And I saw at least 10 people put their hands up. And you need to talk about it because suicide is still one of our biggest killers of our young, of men in their 40s that don't know how to regulate their emotions, going through a divorce, even a change of career. I had to grieve my career. I worked 20 years for my dream job and I lost it. And
in one moment.
In one moment. And I went to work one day interviewing Justin Bieber, One Direction, and the next I've lost everything and been responsible for someone's death by the media. So something can change in an instant, and everybody goes through some kind of trauma. Yep. It's how we then get through it. And I think that's the knowledge I've got, and I don't want people to be ashamed about that.
How was management at the time? And I don't know whether you can talk about it because...
Well, I can say it feels like you were hung out to dry in a big way, right? I mean, I'm not associated with anyone, but I'm going to say sitting in this seat here, it feels like you were the major scapegoats to the whole schmozzle.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Yeah. Okay.
No, look, I put this in an article. I was very unwell as soon as it happened, very unwell. I don't even remember doing my interviews, but I was told I would never get to say sorry if I didn't do the interviews.
Far out. It would have been a blur, so you just cognitively just shut down almost.
Yeah, I just went through the motions and, but it was foreign ground to them as well. It really was unforeseeable, so no one knew really what to do, and there'd been some bad interviews by other people that day, so they decided I needed a new face, and I don't think that's just the management. I think I was the crying female, so the media, they take the female angle.
In an article, you read that you contemplated taking your own life. At what point did it get to that?
After being in hiding for 3 months and reading nothing but trolls.
And that was it?
Being told to kill yourself every day, having all this hate, and, now I know there was love, but the love was not coming through. I was just seeing the hate. I was not seeing the support from people. And it got to the point where I'm like, well, fine, is this going to make everything better? Is this going to make Jacinta's kids feel better? Is this going to make everybody leave me alone if I just kill myself? And I remember sitting in the bathroom and I looked at my wrists and thought, how would I do it? And it was that moment that I'm like, no, I choose life. I choose life. It's going to be a hard journey, but I choose life. And so everything that's happened to me since then, I've always chosen life, like getting a divorce, my mum dying. I'm like, I've been through the worst. I can still choose life, and every day's a new day. You keep moving forward. And life is shit. Life is really friggin' hard, but still choose life and keep going.
But you know what's shit about what you just said then? You've suffered through the loss of your mum, amongst other things, but yet a prank call turned bad is the worst thing that's happened to you. Like the fact you can lose a loved one, but then something as small as that overshadows any other loss. I mean, I get that that's at the baseline because of what you went through, but it's hearing it. It's terrible that overshadows even the death of your mum.
Yeah. People just don't truly understand how hard it was to go through all of that. It was very hard.
Did you bring Kevin?
What's Kevin?
Oh,
Is Kevin a bottle of wine?
We knew that we would need to bring Kevin if you needed a moment.
Oh, Mia is going to tear that apart.
So anytime you need to take a break, just go.
Yeah, if you need a break for a second, you just squeeze Kevin the cock, and it makes everything feel better, except for Mia, because Mia's now going to tear Kevin the cock right apart.
Oh, it's the only cock getting torn apart in this apartment.
Oh, look out. Oh, there you go.
Sorry. You can beep that out.
No, we don't need to beep that out.
This is great.
There's the headline.
In fact, that's what Kevin would want. Well, look, I'm going to put it down for now, but just know that Kevin the cock is here for you.
I love
because
that you did that. You gave me a laugh.
To lighten the mood.
See, I wasn't sure I wanted to even do that when she was emotional, but, here comes Kevin.
Kevin made me feel better.
Good. That's what Kevin's job is in life, to make people feel better.
Oh, my God.
Somebody called Kevin, when we were in Las Vegas recently, somebody called Kevin the accountability buddy.
Yes. Yeah.
So, because we originally bought it because Dion likes a drink. Or two.
A couple here or there.
Yeah,
especially when I'm on holiday.
And we were joking about it. Said, if you have too many,
you can squeeze my chicken.
Thank God you said chicken.
Choke the chicken, yeah.
Choke my chicken if I've had too much. But then me to stop.
But then we also said, it's good for his wife, because then if he goes somewhere and gets on it and he's wearing Kevin, then she can just choke the chicken and knows that it's time to go home.
I love that. I think I need a Kevin the chicken in my life.
Completely lost my train of thought.
Well, it's your fault.
I know, it's my
I had
own
him in
fault.
the bag. He was going to stay there.
It's my own fault. I'm sorry. I apologise.
But so you went through that. I mean, it's the loss of your mum, the trauma from the prank call.
Ex-husband?
Yeah, getting a divorce, destroying my embryos, so not being able to have children.
So hang on,
what's that?
He did that?
No, well, he wouldn't give me permission to use them, so we both decided to destroy them. But that was my only chance of kind of being a mum. But I'm okay with that now because I've got my little fluff ball here, and I became a foster carer and was able to help a beautiful Indigenous girl. So, I've been able to do things that are still fulfilling in that sense, and I love being an auntie. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I've had some big knocks, and I just, where's my friggin' fairy tale? Yeah. Like, how many more?
Well, you're in control now.
Well, and that's what I think. And I've had so many people say to me, Mel, you've got a higher purpose. And I know that sounds very spiritual, but people keep saying it to me. They keep saying it. And I'm like, well, what is it? What is my higher purpose? And I'm like, I went through hell for a very long time. Why was it me? Why did I go through that?
And the thing that always gets me, and the thing that I didn't remember until I was reading the story again today, was that you're only in the job for a week.
No, I had been there for 10 months, but Michael had started on the Monday.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus.
And so we'd only just started working together.
Yeah.
So we knew each other for 2 days.
Jesus. And thrown together for life pretty much now.
Yeah.
Do you still talk to Michael?
Unfortunately not. I have nothing against him, and I wanted to protect him as much as I could through all of this because he's not a bad person, and I don't like it when people kind of pull him apart because he did handle it differently, but he chose to stay with the company and he's still with the company, and I chose not to be with the company anymore.
Yeah. I mean, there are two types of people, I guess, that feel more than others, and people that can disconnect. I would suggest that sometimes I'm somebody that can disconnect, because I've screwed up so much in my life. It's like water off a duck's back. It's like, say what you will. It's I'm moving on.
Well, and he could see it for what it was, that it wasn't his fault. Yeah. That there was more to her illness. But for me, someone wrote my name before they took their own life, and that for me was just devastating.
Brown
Park. Big thanks to Grow Clinics, our lovely sponsor of the Brown Park podcast. And the one thing that I want to point out is if you've got a receding hairline and you're looking in the mirror going, I want to do something about this, go and have a look at the before and afters side-by-side shots on their website. They've got like this little slider that you can go from old photo to new photo and see what the hairline was to what the hairline is now.
And we talk a lot about hair transplants, but Grow could also help you if you just want to thicken up your current hair, or you just want to have a discussion about what a hair transplant may be, but they've got you covered from all aspects, so just go and have a chat with them and they'll put you in the right direction.
There is not one guy on the website that doesn't look about 5 to 10 years younger as a result of their hair transplant.
I know. And look, there's nothing better than once you have it done, looking in the mirror and feeling that confidence again.
Absolutely. You can discover the Grow Diary series. There's a whole bunch of us that have Grow Clinic's Instagram pages where you can see the whole procedure, what you go through on the day to then the regrowing process. That's quite fascinating. But if you're wondering how much a hair transplant costs, jump on their website as well, because they actually have a section dedicated to that and they can roughly work out how much it would be. And they also have payment plans, which is fantastic for people that don't want to cough up the cash up front.
So go check out Grow Clinics. That's GRO Clinics.com.au
and defy genetics with Grow.
The Brown Podcast.
I actually think it's very brave that you actually went to the inquest, I've got to say. I think that took, well, if you're a stick figure, you'd have very big balls.
Do you know, though, I wrote my will the night before because I was
reading that.
convinced.
Did you really?
I was convinced I wasn't coming back. She's licking all my tears. It's really weird. Mia.
See, that's why they're here.
Mia the tear licker. Kevin the cock and Mia the tear licker.
Between the two of them, we'll look our world.
That's a new podcast. Yeah. But there was people standing out the front of the courthouse with, I was beheaded on signs, and, you know, I had a bodyguard and they were expecting something to happen to me. So, you know, I snuck in a painter's van. We had to go to all extremes to be able to get me there. And I'm like, I said if they have any questions that haven't been answered, I'm going to answer them.
Was there any support over there? Was it all negative, or was there people that were on your side and could see where you came from and how it happened?
I was too focused on the negative, so to speak, still blaming myself at that point. So there was some kindness, but all I was seeing still was the hate. But I had a moment with Jacintha's daughter at the end of the inquest. I stood up and apologised to the family, and her and I made eye contact and we both cried. And it wasn't because you were involved with my mum's death. It was, I know it's not your fault kind of look. And for me, that's where I got my closure from.
Yeah, good.
Did the station or anyone send anybody with you, or was this just a solo journey that you had to do on your own?
I'd left at that point, so I was on my own.
It was 2 years later, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was on my own. I had a bodyguard and my barrister with me, but yeah, it was pretty much my decision to take that on.
I can only imagine the stories that you have that you can't talk about.
Yeah, I've held on to a lot of people's secrets, which is also quite draining, but I'm dealing with that now. And through my PTSD, seeing a psychiatrist and a psychologist and just going through it all. And
you're addressing it. Like you're finally taking control and addressing
which
issues.
I did for 2 years, though. That's the thing. I saw a psychiatrist and a psychologist weekly. I went on to medication for 2 years and I felt better. I felt like myself again. But then when other bad things happen in your life, it tricked. Sorry, she's sniffing her bottom.
Who, Dion or the dog?
Easy. I only do it when I'm nervous.
Now I lost my train of thought.
You were addressing it. You'd been to psychiatrist.
Yeah. So, and then obviously my mother's death and a few other things happened, which I then didn't see a psychologist for 5 years. And then now here we are 3 years on where the PTSD has come through. So I guess the message is as well, if you do have a mental health illness, you have to stay on top of it.
It's continuous work, isn't it?
It's continuous work. Don't ever think it goes away. I thought it had gone away and I was invincible, and turns out I'm not invincible. Feeling better now, but I know that it's something that I just have to stay on top of. And when I share my story, to be honest, it feels like a big therapy session now.
Yeah.
It really
it's
does.
It's probably cathartic for you to stand up there and go, okay, well, this is my story.
Yeah, it really I felt so good after Friday, and just speaking to people and knowing that it resonated with them, even chatting to you guys about it. Like, I don't want to hold that shame anymore.
Isn't it funny, because we discussed doing this a long time ago, didn't we?
Yeah.
And you were like, yep, I'm going to do it, and then texted and then said, no, I don't think I can do it. Look, we obviously completely understood that.
Yeah.
But then when you said, no, I'm ready to go, I'm like, holy shit, this is knowing that it's a big moment for you personally.
Yeah.
I think it's true, like what you say, it makes you feel better talking about it, because usually when people hear somebody being vulnerable and they hear other people's pain, like you say, it resonates with them, and all of a sudden you would be feeling like you're not in this boat alone.
Yes.
People do screw up, and most people have screwed up.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden you're not suffering in silence. Whilst you're sharing your story, you're getting to inspire others, and you're hearing their return serves too, right? They're telling you about their trauma, and you're like, oh, okay, righto, this is a real thing. It's not just me, it's everyone's suffering.
Exactly. So that's just what people are going to have to deal with if they come at me saying, why are you talking about it? Like, move on. I'm like, well, I'm not going to stop talking about it because it's helping people.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I just think that that's what I'm meant to be doing.
Now, before this all happened, what was Mel like? Because the life of a radio announcer, particularly at the level that you were at, is chaos.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're literally going everywhere, doing everything, interviewing everybody.
Well, it was one of the biggest radio shows in Australia. The Hot 30 Countdown had so much heritage. 16-year-old runaway Mel used to listen to the Hot 30 Countdown.
That's my dream. That was my dream job. I used to listen to Kyle and Jackie O and say, that's the job that I want.
Yeah.
Really, yeah.
That's what I did as well. So to have that job was an absolute dream come true. And
was it fun? You
oh, my
it?
God. We would do 16 hours a day because we'd film the TV show as well.
Yeah.
But my day was just interviewing celebrities and doing the TV show, living in a penthouse, going to all VIP booth parties with celebrities. It was everything you thought it was.
Yeah.
And I was just so grateful that even though I only got to do the job for 10 months, that I know that I was good enough to get that job.
Yep.
And it was rewarding that I reached the top, but the fall from grace is very hard as well.
You're right at the top, but it was a long way down.
Yeah,
The higher you go, the further you got to fall, right?
Who was your co-host before Michael then?
Matty Acton.
Oh, okay, Matty. Yeah, I know.
He's
Matty.
a Gold Coaster, isn't he?
He's Brisbane. So.
Yeah, was Gold Coast, has been here. He's been around the traps like everybody in radio. You go where the money is. And now he's doing well for himself. So that job, I did it for a very brief amount of time, but I didn't unfortunately get to do the Hot 30, which was obviously my dream job as well. But it's chaos.
Oh, yeah.
It's massive days. You're tired at the end. I had a small child at the time, and it broke me in the end.
Forgive my ignorance, but is it still a thing?
No, they got rid of it after the prank call. So
Right,
now it's just a nighttime show, but it was really sad because all those years of that heritage of the Hot 30 Countdown. Yeah.
Just blew up in a moment.
They just got rid of it. They figured that, I don't know what, by getting rid of it, maybe it helped get rid of what happened. But
Well, there was Kyle and Jackie O, then there was Loie.
yeah, and Loie. I was a producer on his show, so I worked in radio for 20 years before getting that job, and I pretty much did every role.
Yeah.
You know how it is. We move around nearly every year doing different shows and working with different people.
Trying to get that incremental pay rise.
2% this year, 2%. There's only a small bucket, and I'm going to give you the most I can. It's 2%.
So who was the most famous person you interviewed?
For the Hot 30 Countdown, we interviewed everybody. You name them, we interviewed them. And it was just incredible. And I remember my first week of the job, they said to me, now, Mel, there's this boy band. They're the next Beatles. They're coming to Australia. You need to know everything you can about them. And, of course, that was One Direction. And I had to just work out everything I could, like who had an addiction to spoons, what everyone smelt like.
Was that a thing? Did they have an addiction to spoons?
Yeah, one of them did. I don't remember which one.
One of them did, yeah. Because I interviewed them as well at roughly the same time. I was a couple of years ahead of you, I think, on Nova.
Righto.
So we spoke to everybody as well.
Yeah, and I'm like, whatever, this isn't like, surely they're not that big. And I remember when they came into the studio and I could hear this, and I'm like, what on earth is that? And I looked down on the street and there was thousands of girls screaming. Sounded like a pack of seagulls. And we're like,
they probably were.
God.
Seagulls.
And One Direction with the hot chips.
And it was crazy. And we got to introduce them on stage. I got to lay across their lap. My dreams were coming true. Like, I could not believe that was my job.
Yeah.
Like, it was amazing. Rihanna, Ed Sheeran, Justin Bieber, like, you name it, we interviewed them. Yeah. And that's why I didn't care about doing 16 hours a day.
Well,
it's very quickly getting burnt out because it's you don't complain about having to go to work and interview celebrities.
This is a funny side note, but I knew that I'd had enough when I came home one day and I said to my wife, I've got to go back to work and interview Rihanna again.
You poor son of a bitch.
Right? And she's gone, Are you fucking serious? And I've gone, but this is like the third time in the last 18 months. I don't know what else.
She's old news now.
I don't know what else to say. I don't know what else to ask her. I've asked her everything. And she's gone, are you getting burnt out now? Or have you? And I went, yes.
Woe is my life.
It sounds terrible, but
no, it burns you out very quickly, especially breakfast radio. So I went back into radio maybe 3 years after the prank call in Wollongong and did breakfast radio there for 3 years. Our show started at 5, I think, like yours did. So it was up at 3:20 in the morning, and that actually ruined me. Like it burnt me out so bad. So I quit radio then, and you just. Especially in places like Wollongong and Gold Coast as well, you have to go to every single event. You have to know every single person when you're doing your grocery shopping. You have to be switched on. It's a lot.
Christo just raised his eyebrows. I know that was his life up until recently. So.
Yeah. I did it for a long time, and
they just expect a lot. Just in a breakfast role, everyone has to be your best friend. It's very demanding, and you have to be switched on all the time.
And it doesn't seem like it because people go, "Oh, you go home at 9 o'clock in the morning." It's like
we're working till 1 o'clock in the afternoon, then going to a function, then having to get your content that you need to deliver on air and get like 6 content breaks for the next day, every day on repeat.
But, humans aren't nocturnal. We're meant to be asleep at night and awake during the day. So when you're operating in that, that rhythm,
you're a permanent zombie.
You're a permanent zombie. I mean, I did it for 15 years as a baker when I was younger. It was like,
that's even earlier, isn't it?
It was midnight to 1 o'clock starts. And I was always tired. And I think even now I still suffer from what I did to my body back then, because I'm always tired even now. I can sleep generally at the drop of a hat.
Yeah, so can I. I'm a nana. I go to bed at like 7:38 and I'm like, why couldn't I do that when I was in breakfast radio?
Yeah. The funny thing is when we were planning this and I said, look, we'll be at your place by about 6 p.m. and you go, are you kidding? I'm going to bed at like 7:30, 8 o'clock.
I'm not even joking.
But I'll stay up for you guys.
See, that's half an hour before my bedtime anyway.
No.
Admittedly, the ADHD medicine has slowed that down for me. I'm up a bit longer now, but before that it was... it would just be bugbear in my family. I'd be like, all right, I'm going to go to bed now, and we've got an 11-year-old daughter, and I'd be happy to go to bed when she goes to bed at 7:30, 8 o'clock. So
yeah.
So what did little Mel want to be?
Little Mel wanted to be a police officer. So, and when I was 18, I tried out for the army and they said I was too skinny. I wish that was a problem now. People calling me too skinny.
Damn you, age.
And then I'm like, okay, well, I'll try the police force because I was a teen runaway. I ran away from home and couch surfed for the first 2 years.
Oh, really?
Can we just talk on that then for a second? How'd that come about?
So I was just having a lot of problems at home, and because we moved from the farm to the city, in terms of city, I mean Adelaide, and not to the big smoke
still
of
very
Sydney.
much like that.
It's still a city when you come from the farm, and I got bullied at school, and I did that in return to people, and I just wasn't fitting into school because I was a farm girl. I'm a bush pig, so I wasn't raised with these city folk. So it just didn't go well, and I ran away from home because Mum and Dad just got too protective of us. They wrapped us in cotton wool, so they wouldn't let us do anything. So I ran away from home, hung out with really bad people. I was 15, and then I couch surfed for 2 years and started volunteering in radio, and that was my saving grace at the age of 17.
Wow. And so what was your first radio job?
Fresh FM in Adelaide, and I loved it, and I was called Bambi, and I have
Bambi. Oh, my God, that's it. That is your name going forward.
How did you get that name? Was it for a program director and went, yeah, you're Bambi? Or was
it's because there was too many Mels on there, and they're like, let's just do Bambi and Thumper. And Thumper didn't stick, but Bambi did.
Okay.
People confused me for Bambi the stripper, but I was not Bambi the stripper. I was Bambi the radio
Hey, we just came back from Las Vegas, and I'm sure there's a couple of Bambis over there.
Yeah.
I love that you guys had a stage name or a stage name with it. I love it.
I know, but it's a stage name, but we still had to be us. So it was, and even just, I enjoyed just being Mel. So when I did the Hot 30, I was still just Mel. And if it wasn't for the headlines, no one would have even known my last name.
Do you wish you had kept Bambi now?
You imagine the UK tabloids reporting on that Bambi from Australia.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll do a rebrand. Go back to Bambi.
Oh my God. So where to from here? Where, like, you have decided to tell your story. You've decided to come out and own it.
It's more so using my story to help other people, and that's what I'm going to focus on. So doing more guest talking, finally looking into podcasting. Do I do a book? But I'll still be doing my my adult job, which is my PR and media relations for other people. I put other people in the spotlight, which is good, but I just want to focus on on myself and not be ashamed or worry about what other people think about my choices, because it's my story.
Because when you own something, then you take the power back and then they don't have anything over you.
It's my narrative
that's
now.
your narrative now. And I think where something like your journey would really be beneficial is in the school system or with the young kids that, you know, may do something stupid and, you know, things aren't always going to work out. But hearing a story like yours is like, okay, this is what I did after it. Didn't serve me a purpose, and now this is what you can do to bring the power back.
And I did that about 5 years ago. I created Troll Free Day and I went round to schools and I spoke to kids about bullying. And I guess I just put that, because when you make the decision to tell your story, it obviously comes with more trolling, more media stories,
you're putting yourself out
more
there again.
attention. Yeah, it's putting myself out there again. But I just, something clicked and I'm like, I just have to. It's what I need to do.
Well, I think it's like anything. If you don't want to sit on it for too long and then get second thoughts about it, I think you're doing the right thing by going, you know what, I'm going to take the power back. I'm going to do it now. What do I have to do?
Yeah.
I think, because if you sit in it for too long, who knows? I mean, it's something like procrastination. I don't know. I kind of have to move on. But there's a saying there. Paralyzation. I don't know.
Well, that's like, and I've had some friends and family.
Well put, by the way.
Thank you. Look,
I'm going to put that one on my fridge. I liked that one. That was good.
Procrastination or something.
You keep talking. I need to go somewhere in my brain to find it.
But that's why I had a few family and friends go, like, you've just been diagnosed with PTSD. Are you sure this is the right time to be doing it? But Christo, like you said, you can see that I'm lighter from doing
seriously.
it. So it just feels, and that talk was so empowering for me. So I just feel that it's time.
Paralysis from analysis. Okay. It serves no purpose in this point of the conversation, but I told you I'd get there.
Well done. Mel Greig, is there anything else you'd like to say? Like, you've got an open platform. Is there anything else that you want to talk about? Is there anything else that you need to sort of say to lighten the load, I guess?
Just that if anybody is experiencing mental health issues, that you aren't alone, and the thought of someone feeling that suicide is the only option, like, it truly pains me, especially when it comes to our young. It's the biggest killer of them. So please seek help. Please know that you're not alone, and life does get better. I'm still waiting for it to get better. But it's been worse, guys. It's been worse. Yeah. But you know what? Just having life and having my little Moodle and being able to appreciate being here. Look what's happening all across the world. You know, we are very lucky to have the lives that we have. So if you're going through divorce or grief or something or trauma, you can get through it, and please do. Like, please try everything to get through it.
And I mean, I heard Jewel talk about it once on another podcast she did. She said anytime she's going through something super rough, she pictures herself being in a car and she just got to strap in, because it's going to end and you're going to get through it. You just need to strap in for that ride through that specific period in your life.
Absolutely. And just take every day as a new day. You know, if you've had a shit day, wake up the next day and go, okay, let's do it again. And if that day's shit, you wake up the next day and you just keep going. And that's what I did. And I did make those tiny little steps. You know, sometimes having a shower is a massive thing. You know, or going for a walk. Just commit to those little things and you will get through it, because there are so many people in this world that have gone through so much hardship, and it just pains me that they don't get the help they need, or there's not the right services there for them.
And you are a living example of that. You didn't get the help at the time. Everybody just sort of went, okay, we don't know how to process this, so we're not. Bye.
Yeah. And for it to still be an issue 10 years later. And,
that's it.
And I guess I just want people to know as well, don't come at me with, you just need to move on. Get over it. It's not about that. People keep changing the narrative. People keep creating a narrative that isn't my story. And that's hard. That's hard when I get people coming at me, calling me a murderer, when they're trolling me again. You don't understand. It doesn't go away. This is my story. It's never going away, and I need to accept that.
And as Dion said earlier, analysis is around something.
Screw you for bringing
just
that back
remember
up.
that next time there's a problem.
That's our next T-shirt, all right? I still can't figure out what you just said. But onwards.
Sorry, dude.
Where's Kevin the cock when we need him?
Yeah, see, I need to square. Hold on,
Yeah, Kevin. Oh, God.
Mia.
Mia. Mia, the Moodle is off.
Mia, the Moodle is off.
Mel Greig, thank you very much.
Oh, thanks, guys. Thank you for making this a comfortable place to share my story.
You can tell that you missed the microphone.
I know I do. And I did it on Friday as well. I was, it's funny. Sorry, I know you've wrapped up the interview, but I'll just keep going.
Sometimes this is where the good stuff actually comes out. So, yeah.
That's where Mel came out. I was like doing all this serious and inspiring stuff. And then I just started cracking old Mel jokes and just feeling so comfortable, started talking about my puffer fish and like...
Oh, what's it? Hold on. Whoa. What's your puffer fish?
Is this part 2?
Is this like Kevin the Cock right now? What have we got here? Where are we going with this?
Well, it's just when you talk about divorce and having to go onto dating apps and people want to see photos of your bits and your stuff. And I'm like, how do you make a puffer fish look sexy? And the whole room, they're like, puffer fish? And I'm like, the words just come out. And I was just, I don't know, I just felt like me. I'm like...
Put a bow on it, but go on. If you can. If you can, actually. It's good. It's good.
Thank you.
Sorry for my puffer fish.
Puffer fish is brilliant. Puffer fish is brilliant.
The Brown Podcast.
Why are you happy?
Because I don't want to be sad.